In this video, we are going to look at tables in BL metrics. Almost every page here is built around a table. The parts list, the minifigures, the sets, the stores, your own inventory, smart pricing, and many more. So once you know how to drive one table, you know how to drive them all. I'll show you how to configure them so they display exactly the data you need, and how to personalize everything to make them easier to use. Let's start with something we already covered in the regional pricing video, because it sits right at the top of most tables: the region and the condition. From here I can select the world, which shows the worldwide pricing or one of the 5 regions we provide data for: the United States, Europe, the United Kingdom, Australia, and Canada. And next to it I can switch the condition between new and used. As soon as I change either one, all the pricing in the table updates. That's the average price, the quantity sold, the quantity currently listed, the sell-through rate, and everything else like the part-out values and the part-out multipliers. Keep in mind that these two selectors are temporary. Every time you refresh the page, the table goes back to the default region and condition on your account, which you can change at any time in your settings. Mine is set to Europe in new condition. Now let's look at the table itself. We display a set of columns by default, and every column has an explanation. Just hover the information icon in the header and you'll get a tooltip telling you exactly what that number is. If you click on Table Settings in the top right, you can add columns, remove them, and reorder them. For example, we show the average price by default, but you may prefer the quantity-weighted average or the median price. And you can drag and drop to put the columns in the order that suits your workflow. It works exactly the same way for the filters. You enable the ones you use, you reorder them, and each one has its own tooltip if you're not sure what it does. So let's say I'm only interested in the median price, the number of times an item has sold, and the quantity sold. I enable those and the table updates right away. And if I refresh the page, my configuration is still there. One important detail: each table keeps its own settings. The changes you make on the minifigures table will not affect the parts table, or your inventory, or any other page. So you can really tailor every table to what you need it for. Another setting worth knowing is the table width. Let me enable a lot of columns first so you can see the problem. When you enable a lot of data, some of it ends up outside the visible area, and you have to scroll horizontally to reach it, which is not ideal. So we have a second mode you can turn on: full screen width. Once I save it, the table takes the full width of the browser window, which is much better when you want to see more data at a glance. Depending on how many columns you've enabled, you may still need to scroll horizontally in some cases, but you'll get a lot further before that happens. And again, this is a per table setting, so you can use the full width only on the tables where you actually need it. Next, sorting. You can sort by pretty much any column. Click the header once to sort, click it again to reverse the order. If I sort by ascending price, you'll notice some items have no price at all. That's because they did not sell in Europe in new condition. If I switch to the world view, I get a bit more data, because those parts, minifigures or sets did sell in other regions. And here's a useful tip. If you want to exclude the items with no sales entirely, use the range filter and set the minimum average price to 0. You'll only keep the items that actually have pricing data behind them. You can also set the default sorting for a table in the table settings, so it always opens the way you want it. Now let's go through the filters, because there are a lot of them. The first one is the text search. You can type a number, a minifigure number here, or a part number if you're in the parts list. You can also type a name and it will filter on that. And you can search by color. If I type black, I only get black parts. You can even combine the two. If I type black plate, I get the parts whose name contains plate and whose color contains black. That gives you an idea of what you can do with it. Another very useful filter is in your inventory, or not in your inventory. You can show only the items you already hold, in the same condition or in any condition. Here I've selected new. That information is also visible directly in the table with this little purple badge, which shows the quantity you currently have, adding up your new and used quantities. And if you want to sort by it or use a range filter on it, you can enable it as a proper column in the table settings. Then you have the category filter. If I want to see only bricks and round bricks, I select both categories and the table filters on them. But there's a second step that is easy to miss. If I click again on a category that is already selected, it switches to exclude mode. So now, instead of showing me only those categories, it removes every item in them. Let me also exclude Technic pins. This black pin was in the list a moment ago, and now that I've excluded that category, it's gone. The colors filter works exactly the same way, so you can include or exclude colors. And you have the same thing for lists, which are your own lists, pretty much like a wanted list on Bricklink. I don't have any setup here, but they behave just like the categories and the colors. Lists will be the subject of a future video. We also have quantity categories based on the volume sold in the region and condition you've selected. There are 3, high, medium, and low quantity. And we tell you exactly what each one means at the bottom of the table, so you can see that high quantity is the top 10% of parts selling the most in the selected region and condition. Alongside that, we have a speed category: fast moving, medium moving, and slow moving based on the sell-through rate. And there are more filters on rarity, on how many sets a part appears in, on whether it's a new part. Then there are the range filters, where you set a minimum, a maximum, or both. You can add and remove those directly from the table settings, just like the columns. And because there are so many filters, we also let you hide them. Sometimes it's just a bit too much on screen, and you want more room for the data that actually matters, so you can show and hide the whole filter bar whenever you want. The last thing I want to show you is presets, which let you save a set of filters and bring it back in a couple of clicks. Let me demonstrate on the sets list. By default, the sets are sorted by release date, so the first thing you see is the sets that came out very recently. Those don't have a part out value yet, because their inventory isn't available on Bricklink, so we couldn't compute the part out value or the return on investment. Let's say I'd rather sort by part out multiplier to find the best opportunities for parting out. Now I get retired sets at the top, which isn't very useful to me, so I'll keep only the sets currently available at retail, and I'll ask for a return on investment multiplier of at least 0.5. That's the kind of list I'm actually interested in for my analysis. Now, I don't want to reapply all of that by hand every time I come to the sets list. So instead, I create a new preset and give it a name, something clear enough to recognize later. Let's call this one high part out value available. It saves the sort by part out multiplier descending, the filter on available sets, and the return on investment of at least 0.5. Whenever I come back, I click that preset and I'm straight back to this list. You can edit a preset at any time from Manage Presets to change the filters or delete it if you don't need it anymore. And there's one more option: Set as Default. If I set this preset as the default, it will be applied automatically every time I open the sets list. Right now, without it, the page goes back to the standard settings. Let me set it as default instead. Now when I go back to the sets list, the preset is already enabled and it stays that way every time I refresh. If I need the full list just once, but I want to keep my default, I click the little cross to clear the current filters and I get the standard list back. Come back to the page later and my default preset is applied again. And if I want to get rid of it completely, I go into Manage Presets, click Remove Default, close, and I'm back to the standard settings. So presets are really worth setting up for the filters you use all the time. They save you a lot of clicks and make the data much quicker to navigate. That's it for tables. Between the columns, the filters, the width, the sorting, and the presets, you can shape every table in BL Metrics into exactly the view you need. In the next video, we'll look at lists and how you can use them to organize the parts and minifigures you're tracking.